the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number four we're still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Couple with a break, brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR. We are live from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar, and the A today stands for astronomical, as in how astronomical of a contract can Russell Wilson get, and when will he get it? We'll jump right into that in just a second, but first a shout out to MSU Denver Online, the presenting sponsor of this show. Check them out, msudenver.edu/online to see all they have to offer. 750 total classes, 45 plus online and hybrid programs, something for everyone over there. And if you're looking to work a full-time job while maintaining and furthering that education, there's no better place to go than MSU Denver, because MSU Denver students work twice as many hours as students attending any other Colorado institution. So check them out, msudenver.edu/online.
My boys, what is up? Feeling great vibes today, and I think the A today stands for anything. Russell Wilson can get anything he wants from the Denver Broncos. And before we hop into that conversation, love everyone that's tuning in, whether you're on the podcast side, whether you're on the live side. We'd really appreciate it if you hit us with a thumbs up on YouTube. If you're tuning in on Twitter, switch over to YouTube. The stream's better. The chat is a lot better, and we really appreciate it as well. Hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe. And also, if you're new to this, we also have an entire website where we not just only cover the Broncos, where we have written pieces, podcasts, videos, but we also cover the Avs, Nuggets, Rockies, Buffs, Avs, Rams. We cover everything here in Colorado. So stay tuned to all of our work at thednvr.com and also on our YouTube page.
Great point. And we're almost at 20,000 YouTube subscribers. Woo. So help us get there. We're also almost to 700 podcast reviews. So help us get there. Yesterday, I was sitting there getting my hair cut. Thanks for noticing. And
great haircut, Ryan. Wow.
And my barber was like asking me questions, and he was like, so like tell me about your podcast, like how do I find it? And I was like, oh, just type Broncos into the podcast app, and he typed it, and he was like, which one is it? I was like, that's the first one. And he was like, damn, bro, you're for real. He's like, 680 reviews, oh my god. So thank you guys for that.
And you're like, yeah, I'm a little disappointed it's not 700.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, our fans have been really letting us down and can't get us over the hump to 700.
Well, I need a haircut, thanks for noticing. And maybe by the time I go to the barber later this week, we'll have 700.
Yeah, I need one too. That's why I'm wearing a hat.
What if we did a team outing to the barbershop? I'll bring you guys to my guy.
You know what? I'd be down.
All right.
Is he gentle? I mean, there was this one barbershop I went to where I stopped going because they basically treated my head like a melon, and I had a headache because it was like thumped the whole time.
I would say this is the most relaxing haircut experience I've ever had. I've had a lot of great barbers. This dude, he cuts with like a rhythm that is so unbelievable. I've fallen asleep 2 times in his chair.
Wow.
Just because it's like so rhythmic.
Yeah.
That is impressive. Yeah. So I actually have a question for you guys, because I was thinking about this last time I was getting my haircut. Is it okay to close your eyes while you're getting your haircut?
Do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure, because I've done it my whole life. And then this last time I was like, is this weird that I'm closing my eyes?
No.
Do they think I'm falling asleep? Do they think this is like, they're massaging me pretty well? And it's like, is that okay? Is that normal? Because, I do it because to not get hair in my eyes, and it's just comfortable too.
Yeah. No, the only thing is you just got to make sure that you're like following their directions, when they're trying to move your head.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing when I fell asleep, is like, your head just kind of starts to slump. Anyways, Russell Wilson, he showed up with a great haircut.
He did.
You see the little video behind the Broncos? He's in there in the bathroom, making sure every strand was in the right place before he went out there. He's very calculated. Is what I would say. He's very measured.
Yep.
Like a lot of good quarterbacks have been. And the conversation today, of course, stems from what came out over the weekend, which was a mind-boggling contract for Deshaun Watson in more ways than one.
Yep.
But stripping away all of the the controversy from it, from a purely football standpoint, it was a shocking contract. Even if you take away everything, and just say Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, got that contract. What were the exact numbers again?
$230 million over 5 years.
Fully guaranteed.
All of it guaranteed. All of
Every
it fully
penny.
guaranteed. Yes.
Guaranteed.
And
Wait, wasn't it 230 million?
230. Yeah.
230.
said, yeah.
Oh,
That's what
okay,
Yeah.
it's shocking. And that, you look at that number and you say, well, we're blessed to be having this conversation about the Broncos, about what they're going to have to pay their quarterback, because you're very lucky if you get to pay a quarterback that much money. With that being said, as we know, the next one is always bigger.
Yep.
And so when should the Broncos be presenting this to Russell Wilson? Should they be preparing to guarantee every penny of it? And how much is this going to be?
Yeah, and that's the first question is when. When do you do this? We heard last week from George Payton at the end of last week that the Broncos and Russ have not had extension conversations yet, but then George Payton quickly followed it up by saying, we're open to it whenever they want to. I think he said, I'm sure it'll happen at some point fairly soon, and said, we want to make it clear we traded for Russell Wilson to make sure he was here for a long time, meaning the Broncos are going to pay Russ. They're not going to get into negotiation with him going back and forth. This is not going to be Von Miller, John Elway via 2016 where it's a rough negotiation. No, the Broncos are going to make it happen, and as they should. We've been waiting for this position for a long time, like you said, Ryan, to be in a position where you can pay someone so much money, and it's going to be so much money.
Yeah, Mace, when do you think is the right time to do this?
As soon as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because the price tag isn't going to go down. Remember, one of the things that is coming into play here in terms of that contract and why the Browns could absorb it and just how you're planning in general is when you get to 2024, that's when you're probably going to see the big cap spike projected in some circles up to $260 million by then. Because right now,
Deshaun Watson contract.
Yeah, right now we're in the realm where it could have spiked this year, could have really spiked next year. But remember, they made that deal where they're going to they were going to offset, they were going to account for the COVID year losses in terms of revenues, and instead of having it hit 1 year, it was spread over 3 years. So there wasn't a huge damage to the cap, which means it wasn't going to rise next year or even this year like it could have, because this year it could have risen because of Amazon kicking in. Yep. Next year, new broadcast contracts could have risen then, but at that point, then for let's say it's a $260 million cap in 2024. It may sound like a lot to say you're paying your quarterback $50 million, but that's not even 20% of your cap.
Right. And the only reason, because I do agree with you on the baseline, Mesa, you pay him as soon as you can. The only reason I would say, well, wait. What about wait 1 more year? And the reason for that is you pointed to 2024, which is 2 years away. Yeah, Russ is under contract for 2 more years. You're not going to wait until the final. You're not going to wait until after that final year. You're not even going to wait till the final year. But since there's 2 more years left, he's on the cap for $24 million this year.
Yeah.
Why not, if Russ is okay with it, which the fact that he didn't get a contract the second he was traded makes me think maybe he is okay with it. Why not wait until next offseason to do it so that instead of paying $50 million starting this year, you pay $50 million starting the next year, or in that case, $55 million.
Yeah, $55 million.
Well, you would structure it to where the cap figures wouldn't really hit. Like, for example, Deshaun Watson's cap figure this year is just over $10 million.
Right.
Now, next year, that's going to be the one where the Browns kind of sweated a little bit because he's got a $54.9 million cap figure before the expected big bump in 2024. And then he keeps that $54.9 million cap figure on through the rest of his contract.
Yeah,
so that's how you'd probably do it. You'd say, okay, let's just get this done. You might maybe take his number might go from $24 million to, say, $30 million. In 2023.
But my point is, why not just kick the can down the road 1 more year and have this year be $24 million, next year still have it be the lower cap hit of 25, 30 million, and then it explodes. That's just the only pushback I have to that, because I do agree with you guys. If Russ wants a deal now, you don't mess around. You don't do anything to possibly make him upset.
Okay, a couple things that have to be brought into this conversation. One, if the Broncos wanted to extend Russ today, could they even do that based on the financial situation they have? Remember, it's an old Mace drink word, escrow.
Yep.
You're gonna have to put all that guaranteed.
It's iced tea, though.
You're gonna have to put all of that guaranteed money
Long Island?
into escrow. If you did it. So I think the next contract that happens is 5 years, $25 million or $250 million, all guaranteed. That's going to be the next quarterback contract.
Okay.
The Broncos would have to put $250 million in escrow. That's $250 million. I don't think the current ownership has the ability to do that. So there's one reason why you might have to wait a little bit. I have another reason that hasn't been brought up yet why I think you should wait as long as you can to a reasonable amount. Obviously you don't want to let them get anywhere near free agency. So the extra year that you were talking about. The longer that a player is playing under a contract, the more they dislike that contract. Mm-hmm. Meaning, it doesn't matter if you were to sign Russ. If you think Russ is going to play 10 years right now, you don't get to sign him to a 10-year contract and be like, yep, he's going to play all 10 years on this contract. The longer the player plays in the contract, the more they want a new contract, the sooner you have to give them a new contract, because whether the owners want to acknowledge this or not, the quarterbacks hold all of the power, every last bit of the power. And so you kind of want to be strategic about this. If you sign Russ to a 5-year extension, 3 years in, he's going to want a new one. Mm-hmm. So if you do that today, then you're going to have to do it again sooner rather than waiting a year, signing him to that 5-year extension. Then 3 years later, you're going to do the new extension and so on and so forth.
How do you think Mahomes feels today?
He's thinking, wait. I still have 9 years left on this deal?
Yeah, he does. And at the same time, those last 5 years were designed to be ripped up.
Yep.
Because there's zero guarantee left in those 5 years. But at the same time, it's interesting if you go by total guarantee, which includes like third year of the contract, you're on the roster, you get guaranteed. If you go by total guarantee, Deshaun Watson took the Aaron Rodgers record for total guarantee and shattered it by nearly $80 million.
Yeah,
and Rodgers was just a tick above Josh Allen's $150 million guarantee and Patrick Mahomes' $141 million guarantee. But basically the Watson contract you took advantage of an extremely desperate team. Yeah. You probably have 31 other teams, and certainly the ones that have have outstanding quarterbacks, so probably another 8 or 10 teams at least, including the Broncos, that just probably were cursing like mad when they saw that deal.
Yes.
Yep.
Because it blew up the guarantee expectations. Now Russell Wilson can't take any dime less than $230 million guarantee.
No, and I think this also, Brian, does bring in some context to what Deshaun Watson's deal was. He didn't play for an entire season. Mm-hmm. He still has 22 civil cases against him right now. The last time he played, he had really good stats. His team was 4-12. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. So it shows he's a very good quarterback, but how good is he? Now, I think Deshaun Watson, in terms of just a quarterback on the field, is a really good quarterback, but he's not elevating everyone around him. And despite that, there was no discount on trading for him. 3 first-round picks. We find out yesterday there was even an additional 4th or 5th round pick thrown in. And then his contract was 0 discounts as well.
Not only did they give him the massive contract, they also finagled it in a way that he won't lose anything if he gets fined,
which is
gets suspended this
which
year.
Is honestly disgusting.
Super gross.
That is. I mean, he misses $55,000 every game he misses this year when he's making $230 million guaranteed. That is something I wish the league would have stepped in and said, this is total BS.
Yeah, for sure. And then you look at it and just how bad the Browns mismanaged the situation is so off-putting.
You think so?
Because they pissed off their quarterback, their former first-round pick, to the point where he was like, all right, well, I'm out. I'm leaving. And because of that, it forced them to get so desperate in the Deshaun situation that even after he said, I'm out on the Browns, I'm not coming here, they pigeonholed themselves to have to be like, wait. You know the stuff you were talking about earlier? We'll actually go above and beyond that. We'll make it so you don't get fined really anything this year if you get suspended. We'll give you every penny of the contract guaranteed. We'll give you one of the biggest contracts of all time. Like, the whole thing is a masterclass in how to screw something up by the Browns.
Man, I think the Browns played it perfect in terms of just on field. Now, if you want to bring in, do you want to have that guy in your organization? Of course, that's a very different conversation for me. And I would say you don't go after that guy. But since they were going after him, you do everything you can to get a quarterback and a massive quarterback upgrade.
But I don't think they would have done that had it not gotten so public that Baker was offended.
But now they upgraded their quarterback position. So in terms of football, does it matter?
We'll see.
But here is the thing: is man, Deshaun. It was only about the money for him. Because when the money wasn't there from Cleveland, he said, I don't want to play with you. That just feels dirty to me, too. Man.
Not having any Super Bowl appearances can do that to a franchise.
I really hope
that
this just bites them in the ass so badly. Like, Baker, man, I remember him at the Combine saying, if there's anyone who can turn around the Browns franchise, it's me. He went there. He embraced the city. He embraced the culture. He turned around the team. Everyone forgets, Baker wasn't great last year. He was really good the year before, and he took a team that had won, one game in 2 years and turned them into a playoff team almost overnight.
And literally their first playoff win in 26 years.
So they deserve the Baker curse by running him out of town for Deshaun Watson, of all people.
Yeah, and not that I want the Texans to succeed because they're not the best organization either. But wouldn't it be something if the Texans are the ones that actually come out on top? Because let's say, I don't think Deshaun, I have actually no idea how long Deshaun Watson is or isn't going to be suspended for. But what if he is suspended and Jacoby Brissett comes in and isn't able to lift up the Browns for much of the year this year, and then the Texans actually get a top 5 pick out of all of this? Again, I'm not necessarily cheering for the Texans here, but wouldn't it just be something? Because kind of some karma for the Browns.
I think this is part of their thinking, actually.
Yeah.
That we have, we're gonna let Davis Mills play this year out. If Mills isn't the guy, we'll have a bad season. We'll have a high pick, but you have another card to play because let's say the league says Deshaun Watson is suspended for the 2022 season, which I think is legitimately possible. Then Cleveland, with no draft picks this year to help themselves, they've just got all they've got is what they've got in there in what appears to be a very tough division. You'd have them ticketed for last place right now.
Yeah.
Without Deshaun Watson in the AFC North. I mean, effectively the Texans have 2 shots at a top 2 pick.
And all the while, Deshaun Watson will still get 229 of the 230 million.
Just disgusting. Just disgusting.
Oh, that's the worst part.
Make the Browns pay for this in the NFL. Totally fine not stepping in with the deal and the trade and everything. Make the Browns be on the hook for $230 million.
And a top 2 pick.
But don't make it so that Deshaun gets completely off the hook. Maybe they should just suspend him for 2 years. Say, fine, you want to play that game? We'll hit you where it counts. And of course they're not going to, so it's a bummer.
Well, the other thing is also kind of a model on this, although it was only 1 rather than 22 lawsuits. Ben Roethlisberger got 6 games. That's why, I mean, if there's enough in the NFL investigation of this to say, all right, this really did happen to the point where he's going to have to settle, I don't see how they could go any less than double Big Ben and perhaps the full season if they're going to actually have a punishment that has some teeth here.
I would put money on under 6.5 games.
Yeah, unfortunately, I probably would too. And man, Mace, even if it is, what are you saying, 12 games? What is that? We're talking $500,000? We're talking 750,000.
That's 550 times 12. I mean, there you go. But all that though, the fact that we're talking about suspension is why I think no matter what happens, you look at all the elite quarterbacks to very good to elite quarterbacks in the AFC. The Browns are going to be one of those teams sitting there with their nose pressed against the glass, watching the playoffs in January.
Yep.
There'll be somebody from the AFC West is going to be in that same boat for a different reason, but that's why, like, okay, all these quarterbacks, all these teams, they're not going to make the playoffs every year. Someone in the AFC West is going to be out. The Browns are going to be out. And it got a little more complicated yesterday when Matt Ryan went to Indianapolis because Ryan being efficient with that team, that has a good chance of being a playoff team.
Congratulations, ESPN and all other publications. You can now use the carousel on the Colts.
Yes, you can.
You can repurpose it, just change the figures on there.
And also, you can continue to use it with the Browns. They thought they were done once Baker came. Nope, just throw him on the carousel.
Yep, absolutely.
Throw Deshaun Watson on. Now you can throw Jacoby Brissett on because he's likely going to play a game.
Unbelievable.
How about the Case Keenum-Von Miller reunion?
Yes, I'm sure they're both thrilled.
I'm sure we can dig up a quote about how Vaughn said Case is going to be, the best ever.
Yeah, rock star. Some other
there is
word
something
like that.
there. Yeah.
Tonight at the DNVR Bar, 8 o'clock tip for the Nuggets taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. Sorry, someone made such a loud noise coming in that it distracted me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you okay, Marissa?
All right, well, we're glad you're okay.
Wow, Ryan's such a dick.
I thought you just slammed the door. Anyways.
If you want to come to a place with no compassion, come join Ryan.
Come fall down the stairs and get laughed at the DNVR Bar. No,
it's actually a great place to be.
Yeah, come on down. A little grudge match. Why? Because Marcus Morris is somehow still running his mouth about the bubble playoffs.
Yep.
He comes out today or recently, I think, and says like we would have destroyed them if we weren't in the bubble, which is unbelievable. I thought, isn't it just about basketball?
Right. Now it's about playoffs for this year for both teams.
Yes, it is. So Nuggets need one. I'm going to the game, so you won't see me here at the bar. But
good. We don't want that energy.
Yeah. So I won't bark at you or whatever. But come on down, hang out, have yourself a beer, get a chicken sandwich, enjoy,
and bet on the Nuggets with our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet on the Nuggets, and then also get in on the tournament this weekend because they're still giving you the fantastic deal. Bet $5 to win $200 in free bets. Just pick any team to win a game that's still left in the tournament. If they win, boom, you get $200 in free bets. Ryan's going with Gonzaga as your safest pick this weekend. In terms of DraftKings, they'll tell you to bet for Purdue. Ryan may say, don't do that. Don't do that. But no matter who it is, all you have to do is win. Mace, I'm picking your North Carolina team to win. You'll get $200 by placing that $5 bet. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. That's code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers only, Colorado only, 21 or only. Must minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I won't talk you out of that bet, even though I'm not betting on my own teams. If you want to watch the Nuggets and Avs, maybe you can't make it out to the DNVR Bar tonight to see the Nuggets game. But if you want to watch the Nuggets and Avs night after night after night at home, check out our friends over at Evoca TV because it's a totally new paradigm for TV delivery that is less expensive, more efficient, and offers a superior picture than legacy providers. And Evoca has altitude. So check that out. The service is now available in Denver, Colorado Springs, Phoenix, Boise, and Twin Falls, Idaho. With altitude, you can follow all the Colorado teams you love, the Nuggets, the Rapids, the Mammoth, and, of course, the Avalanche. They've also got coverage of the CSU Rams, Denver Pioneers, and baseball as well. They'll also have AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain coming soon on there, so you can get all the Rockies games. So I've told you about Evoca, told you what they've got. How do you sign up? Go to evoca.tv/DNVR. It's evoca.tv/DNVR. It's only $25 a month plus receiver. No contracts, no hidden fees. The price is locked in for 2 years. And on that receiver, you can purchase it up front or you can rent it for $5 a month. So you take care of that, and then for $25 a month, you are good to go to watch local TV and watch altitude, and coming soon, watching AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain to get all of the Denver teams. And then, of course, you'll have the Broncos on the over-the-air channels as well. So everything you need in Denver sports, you can get if you subscribe to Evoca TV for $25 a month today.
Love it. Great deal over at Evoca. Yeah. All right. We talked a little bit about the timing, so it's got to be within the next 365 days, would you say?
Yeah.
And let's talk about the numbers, because I guess the biggest question here is who's up next. Is it Russ? Is it Mahomes getting a new extension? Burrow, could be coming up in, I guess, a year or so. Who's next? Because whoever does that, I'm calling it. 5 years or more, $50 million a year, all guaranteed.
Yeah, and I think you even need to go higher than that. In terms of who's next, Russ really could be next, and it may just decide on how long it takes for the ownership of the Broncos to get in new hands where they do have that escrow to be able to put in the account, $250, $300 million. But I think it's going to be a blend of a couple of big contracts that we've seen. Patrick Mahomes, 10-year, $450 million deal. Or was it 500 actually? No, I think it was $450 million deal.
450,
An
yes.
average of $45 million. Only, $130 million guaranteed in that?
141 million total guaranteed, but then the full guarantee was actually just under 63.1 million.
Wow.
Man, he got shortchanged.
Crazy. He got shortchanged. I think he gets a new deal after his $143 million in guarantees runs up, which will probably be a year or two.
Really quick, did you see that? I think it was ESPN. They did a top 5 teams in the AFC the other day, and they didn't include the Chiefs.
No way.
Yes.
Wow. I love it.
Well, at this moment, because they haven't really done a lot to improve themselves,
Yep.
that's what I think right now it's fair. I can see why they'd say that. I think we're going to get some distance from free agency and maybe view things a little bit differently. But right now, the Chiefs cannot simply stand there and say, hey, we're definitely going to the playoffs again.
Crazy.
I mean, what team would you take right now, Chargers or Chiefs?
Chiefs.
I know what Ryan's taking. I think that is as close to a toss-up as it gets, Mace.
They've already played 2 overtime games in the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
And then I'm throwing out the end of the season 2020 because the Chiefs were resting their starters. So they played 3 games that mattered. 2 went to overtime. The Chargers won the other one at Arrowhead. So the Chiefs have won 2 of the 3, but they were both tied after regulation, which I think tells you head-to-head how close these teams were, and the Chargers have a better roster today than they did at the end of the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I'll just always go with the better quarterback.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe that switches this year. Maybe at the end of this year, we're looking at the quarterbacks that we thought were the best in the AFC West flipping around. I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. But so I think in terms of looking at the next big contract, you look at Mahomes' 10 years. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but in terms of breaking, just the 5-year mold, that could be broken, and Mahomes' deal could help that. You look at $250 million guaranteed dollars, and then you also look at Aaron Rodgers' deal, where you're looking at an average of $50.27 million per year. So take all of those and pretty much put them together. I don't think we're looking at a 10-year deal, but we could be looking at a 6 or 7 year deal. I think we're looking at way over $230 million guaranteed. I do think we're looking at a fully guaranteed deal, and I think we're looking at over $50.2 million guaranteed. So I think we're already looking at potentially a $55 million per year deal, pretty much fully guaranteed.
I'll give you an outside thing. What if that contract goes at midseason to Derek Carr?
Oh.
His contract is up after this season.
Oh.
Obviously
Davante Adams was promised that Derek Carr is going to be here a long time.
And let's say, look, I think there's a legitimate fear that if McDaniels has learned a little bit about people skills, we know what kind of game planner he is. He does. Look, for all his flaws, he's got a pretty bright and brilliant offensive mind.
Unfortunately.
You can't exist out of the realm of possibility that Carr, with McDaniels, with Davante Adams, with Darren Waller, with Hunter Renfrow, just comes out on a tear to start the year. And the Raiders say, look at him at midseason and say, okay, let's get this done. That
may be the best play for Derek Carr is waiting until 6 games in, because he actually could be the candidate that's up before Russell Wilson, because he's wanted a new deal for a while. Now they could get it done. Now that they've showed him we're doing everything to give you what you need by trading for Davante.
And I think also kind of that's in play for Russ, maybe not just a half season, but letting a season play where the offense is designed around him.
Right.
Let him.
Bad news for the Broncos.
Yeah, what happens after a season where you let him cook? What happens for Carr after a season where you gave him probably the best 1-2-3 pass catching combination in the NFL?
Yeah, and Here's what I worry about with Russ in terms of the money. It excites me more than it worries me. But if I'm an owner, knowing what I'm going to have to pay for Russ is, I think he could have a career year this year.
Yep.
Did you know that Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote?
Yep.
Yeah.
Even
And
with 40 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, he didn't get a vote.
2 years ago, and he's also in a separate year. He led the league in touchdown passes, by the way.
And did not get a vote.
He averages over 10 years, including his rookie year, a 101.8 passer rating, and yet still has never had an MVP vote. And Mason and I were talking about this right before the pod. 2 years ago, I believe, right? Russ was off and to an incredible start through 8 games because they were letting Russ cook in Seattle, and everyone's saying, this is it. This is the year he finally gets an MVP vote. Then Seattle freaked out and said, nope, we're just going to run the ball. Russ, I don't want to say struggled down the stretch, but wasn't putting up crazy numbers. Still didn't get an MVP vote.
Yeah, the one thing Russ had an issue with in the end of that season is when they would let him throw the ball, he refused to check it down. He wanted to go big. It almost felt like he's like, it's like a basketball player when they see their substitution is waiting at the scorer's table. They're like, I got to get one more shot up. It's like he's like, oh, and the next play is probably going to be a run, so I better get 50 here, which was a legitimate flaw of his, and something that I would like to see change in Denver. Be fine with checking the ball down if nothing else is there, and also work the middle of the field a little bit more. He's never worked the middle of the field really, so that might be an unfair expectation.
Sounds like you don't want to pay him.
But regardless, I don't even know how I ended up there.
It's just this attitude you brought today.
If he gets
Ryan.
an MVP vote, if he was a true MVP candidate, then the price goes up even higher. And I truly think with the way the spotlight will be on him, it's kind of weird up there in the Pacific Northwest. Like, no one really wants to care about it.
It's true.
Denver, when the Broncos are good, is probably the one time that Denver gets its due the way it should. The NFL views Denver as a big market. Every show is going to be talking about the Broncos every single week. And obviously
that new sexy thing.
Right. The AFC West is also going to – there's probably going to be a segment on every NFL show just talking about the AFC West.
Well, just think about the cities. I mean, now Kansas City's just kind of there for the ride.
Yep.
But you got L.A., Vegas, and then Denver, who, when they're cooking, the NFL loves.
Yep.
And Kansas City's kind of in that Green Bay vein, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big market, but man, they love their football, and man, it's an amazing atmosphere, and they have their tailgates and all that. It's a sexy division.
Yeah, it is.
It
really is.
It's a really sexy division. So I think that if Russ plays the way I think he will with these weapons in this offense, I think he's going to get MVP love. And then his price just went up.
And here's what Russ may also be thinking about in terms of maybe forcing the Broncos' hand, whether it's to get a new deal next week, right before training camp, or 6 games into the season. He may say, I said I'm going to play 10 or 12 more years. That's 2 more massive contracts, but I don't want to kick the can down the road any longer. I don't want to have to play 12 years in order to get $50-60 million a year. I want my deal now. And then in 5 years, when that deal's done, or, probably more like 4 years, when that deal's starting to run out of guarantees, I'm going to sign up for another one. And then he's almost guaranteeing himself 8 years of guaranteed massive, massive money.
Guarantees, you still have, you have to play, right? Like, you can't retire and still cash in on your guarantees.
I think if you retire, that's when you have to give it back.
You have to give it back.
I figured.
And so,
yeah, I mean, he really is the sooner for him too, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a discussion that has said, hey, wait for our new owner to get here. Mr. Moneybags will come in and take care of you.
Yeah.
Better hope Mr. Moneybags is willing to do that from, you would think so. But what if it's just a stingy owner? That's horrifying. Don't want to even think about that.
Put that. I don't think anyone's that dumb.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question I have here is, where does this end for quarterbacks? Because again, what if Russell Wilson, if you offer him 5 years, $250 million, every penny guaranteed, and he's just like, no, more.
Then he gets more.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At what point are quarterbacks getting paid $100 million a year?
It ends when there's a viable and consistent model to success without having an expensive quarterback. And right now, that only path is cost-controlled quarterback that you draft, but it's so
hard.
It's so hard. I mean, think about it. The Bengals are already 40% through that window.
Yes.
I mean, it feels like Joe Burrow just got here. He's the hot young guy, right?
Yep.
Their first year was a wash. They get to the Super Bowl. I mean, the clock on terms of cost control, it's basically run out on Josh Allen.
Yep.
Because he got his deal. So it's
one AFC Championship game, right?
Right.
Yep.
It's basically the only way this changes is if there is another model to success long term, not just like a one-off that proves to be viable.
No.
Right, and there's a stat out there about percentage of the cap for quarterbacks and how that, once you go over a certain threshold, there's only a few Super Bowl winners with that. I forget what the exact numbers are, but it's not going to stop anyone. Because your other option, it's pay the quarterback or don't have a quarterback. Everyone pays the quarterback every time. And I saw someone bring this up on Twitter the other day, but they said a better sample size would be, let's look at the percentage of the cap on quarterbacks and what percentage of those teams make the playoffs.
Right.
Because it's probably very high.
Well, and it's not only good for football on the field in terms of being competitive in January and February, but it's also great for business. Look at what the Broncos have done in terms of selling jerseys. Russ has been the easiest jersey to sell. I think I've seen them push it once on Twitter on their Broncos account. They just sell themselves is what I'm saying. You have a good quarterback, it sells themselves. It's the easiest thing to market. The Broncos have been trying, and no offense to these guys, Broncos have been trying to push Justin Simmons and Cortland Sutton in terms of being the big go-to. Those are great guys, and you love having them on your team, and you're okay paying them $15 million a year. That doesn't do anything compared to what Russ is going to do on the billboard.
That's also fairly minimal though, because you keep the markup, the retail markup when you sell it at your own store. But when it gets, Russell Wilson jerseys are being sold at Dick's Sporting Goods. They're being sold on Fanatics.
It's more about the brand.
Right.
Yeah, it's improving the brand. But remember all that. But in terms of the money from the jersey beyond in terms of what you make beyond just the retail markup, that gets split 32 ways.
Right. If you told me though, DNVR is going to sell 1 million shirts. 100,000 of them are going to come out of the DNVR bar. You'll get to keep all of that. But all the other ones that get sold, you have to split with the other All-City networks. I would take the deal in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden there's 1 million people representing the brand outside, and just the team gets a bigger profile and it's worth more money and all of that stuff. I mean, I truly believe that the new owner has to pay the Russell Wilson premium. It costs more now.
Yeah, maybe a couple $100 million more, which is crazy. So I
pay
don't
for his contract.
I don't think I don't think I'm going to be able to get to a point when thinking of a contract where I say no, trade him or let him hit free agency. But at what point do you think the Broncos or a team would? And so I'm trying to think of a quote reasonable, realistic deal. You think $360 million fully guaranteed over 6 years would be too much? That's $60 million a year.
No, there's no such thing as too much.
See, and that's how I view it, but don't you think in terms of in an NFL organization where they overthink things too much, there would be?
But again, you counter offer that, obviously, right? And you're like, God, can we please get you down to 55? We need that money to spend, and we want to build a Super Bowl contender. And if he says no, you don't just walk away from the table. That's what I mean.
I agree.
The leverage for these quarterbacks is insane, and something has to give. And Mace, I think you brought up a good point there. It's like what has to give is someone has to prove you can do it without it. I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
Well, that's why I think today and looking ahead to the next year or two, teams to watch on that are the Falcons and the Texans. Because here's an example of where they stand. Obviously, the Texans have all that draft capital coming in. They could have a high draft pick next year. And they also next year have $118 million of cap space. So if the Texans, either through the Browns or their own struggles, are sitting there with a number 1 or number 2 overall pick, then here's a chance for them to be that experiment. If Atlanta decides, okay, and I think Atlanta probably made a smart but painful choice on Matt Ryan to just say rip the Band-Aid off. Atlanta has $113 million in cap space next year. Atlanta would behoove itself, I think, to just be bad this year. Get that top 2 pick. Let's say it's number 1 overall. You get Bryce Young. You have a great target in Kyle Pitts already there, and you have $113 million in cap space. That's the kind of it literally may be that the model is tear down and then build back up.
Right, but you just have to hit on the quarterback.
Yeah.
And one thing that I don't think has been discussed a lot lately is the quarterback hit rate is actually going up in terms of guys that are drafted in the top 10 being good quarterbacks. You're seeing it a lot more now than even 10, 15 years ago. What was I going to say? Oh, I have a question. We talk about Deshaun Watson setting a new precedent, right? Because it happened, and so now it's going to keep happening. Mm-hmm. Why did Tom Brady not set a new precedent when he decided I'll take less money to win more? Why? Like, he is almost universally accepted as the GOAT now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Because he won championships, not because he put up numbers.
Yep.
Because he won championships.
Yep.
Why has no one followed that model? Why does no one else want to say I'm willing to do the same, legacy over dollars? There's only so much money you can spend anyway.
It's a fantastic question, and it's credit to Tom Brady. He's done a lot to get himself where he is, but he has sacrificed, and in air quotes, sacrificed. But he has sacrificed millions, tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of million dollars on the table. And one of the ways he was able to start doing that was Giselle. He knew that he was making so much money. His family was making so much money. Sierra also has that. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I think that helped his idea and helped ease him do it. Now, the Patriots also did it where they would just give him tons of money up front. Yeah. He still wasn't all the highest paid, but
I remember when the Broncos were playing Case Keenum. Yeah. And he made $18 million that year.
Yep.
Either the one in front of him or the one behind him was Tom Brady.
Yep.
Yeah, he's never consumed more than 13.6% of a team's salary cap. Think about that for a moment.
Yep.
That he's never been at, I think, because I want to say the threshold is at what, like it's at like 15 or 20%, somewhere in that
15,
range.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And he has never been at that point. Ever.
I get the whole Giselle thing. Obviously, that is a, I guess for lack of a better term, privilege that he has. Mm-hmm. But I just think there would be one other guy, and maybe Mahomes is the closest to it. I mean, comparatively now, he's given the Chiefs a pretty big discount. I just would assume that someone else would be like, I'm willing to try this because I care about legacy. It's not as if you're playing for free.
Right.
Play for $20 million a year, which is an absurd number.
Yep.
And give your team a better chance to win. I'm not saying they should. I'm all about players securing the bag. But I'm just surprised no one else has.
And I think something that plays into that is a lot of pressure from the union and from other players saying don't take less because then it's going to hurt us. Even though you're the best and it's hurting you a little bit, you're really going to hurt the guy that's the 6th best in the league because then he's not going to be able to reset the market. But you know what? Tom Brady's bigger than the union. Tom Brady's bigger than the other quarterbacks that he's getting pressure for. So Mahomes is really the next guy who is bigger than all of that, and he'll have the opportunity to say no to all of those outside forces.
Yeah, Tom Brady has a lower cap figure this year than Russell Wilson.
Of course.
And Russ is really low.
Yeah,
$24 million.
Right.
That's cheap.
Tom this year is at $20.27 million.
But
just disgusting.
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. He does, and it's about winning for him, and also the money also comes. But it's really smart, and you have to give Tom credit for that.
The only mountain left to conquer is winning multiple Super Bowls with multiple teams, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be something that not even Peyton did.
Right.
Yep.
I mean,
That's not something
you think
that
like
Peyton could
what's
do.
left for Tom Brady? That's the only thing I can think of.
Yep.
Unless he's thinking, oh, well, I leave Tampa Bay and I become the first to win with three teams.
Following Von Miller.
And did you see they're restructuring Tom's deal a bit, or they're altering stuff in his contract, but they are not extending him because Tom wants a chance to hit free agency next year.
God,
so just wait until Trey Lance doesn't look that good this year, and then Tom hits the open market and then goes to San Francisco and forget retirement this past year. He's playing 1 or 2 more years.
Tom Brady's family must suck so much that he went home for a month and was like, Yeah, actually, I'm never coming back here.
The kisses weren't as good.
Ugh,
Yeah, well,
God.
on retirement.
They must be the worst hang. He had to get back to the locker room.
Yeah, or maybe he's the worst hang, and the family said,
Please
dude,
go
you
back."
gotta go back, man.
Or maybe he's just institutionalized,
Yeah.
as they said in Shawshank Redemption. He
Yeah.
got out for a month and
Yeah.
couldn't handle the lack of structure and had to go back.
Had
Yep,
to go back.
Very true.
One place that I always have to go back is Sexy Pizza. Delicious Denver-based pizza, a true staple. They've been here for 13 years in the Denver community. They give back to the community with their philanthropies, which are pretty cool. They're specialty pies that have different nonprofit organizations that they give back to when you buy one of them. They also have incredibly good green chili pizza. Mace is a fan of their salads. It's just top to bottom a really, really great company and really, really great pizza. So go over there, support Sexy Pizza. Get you some delicious pizza tonight.
And nothing goes better with sexy pizza than Breck beer. Whether you're watching a game, whether you're eating pizza, whether you're hanging out on the weekend, Breck beer is the beer to go to. Of course, it's the official beer of DNVR. And just like we do with all things that are great, we brought it into the bar. It is the beer of the DNVR bar as well. And man, we are getting into some warm weather, which just makes it fantastic. Get some mango beer that they've got. Of course, Strawberry Sky, can't say enough about it. And today is actually a Hot Peak IPA. Maybe even you go for the Vanilla Porter Jr. that they've got, because big game for the Nuggets tonight. Sure. Weather's kind of a bummer right now. Happy second day of spring, guys. Doesn't feel like that.
Sure doesn't.
And whatever season it is and whatever it feels like, you got to get Breck beer. And if you're not around the DNVR bar, go to the Breck beer website. Top right-hand corner is a Breck beer locator. Click on that and you can find where to get any Breck beer where you are.
Yeah, we're teetering on Strawberry Sky season. Even though every season is Strawberry Sky season, it hits different on a porch with the sun beating down on you.
It does. Oh, man, I can't wait for that season.
I can't either.
This weekend, 70s.
I don't know what happened. Something clicked in my brain recently. I'm like so ready for summer.
Oh, man, absolutely.
I feel like a kid with like senioritis.
I mean, we've had it snow every single week in 2022.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Time.
It doesn't sound right to me.
It doesn't feel like it, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, technically we had snow yesterday, but it didn't stick.
You know what, though, guys? You're talking about summer. I'm looking at the Dark Sky app right now. You know what the forecast high next Monday is?
What's that?
80.
Oh,
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
You're going to be very happy with
I'm
that.
sick that day. All right, let's
The question will be whether it's warmer here or down at the league meetings.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, Mace will be down at the league meetings next week. Excited to see what comes out of there. I'm sure there'll be an ownership update for the Broncos.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. But of course, also it's the annual coaches breakfast. When I say annual, we haven't had it since 2019, of course, because of the pandemic. But there's always stuff that comes out of that, and I think Hackett's going to be pretty. They're going to be reporters that are drawn to Hackett like moths to a flame.
Oh, yeah.
As he gets going on Tuesday morning next week, answering questions.
I think it was our friend Nate Kreckman who said during the Russ press conference that he gives off Tommy Boy energy, and I haven't been able to unsee it since.
His energy is, in fact, I mean, for that early morning breakfast, he's the caffeine you need.
Yeah, I mean, I love his vibe.
Of course, it's also the night after the annual kind of media and coaches. There's a party where like the media and the coaches and the executives and everybody there is all mingles, and it's the league hosts it, and it's an open bar.
Zach, why aren't we going to this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, I'm getting a few days with family around it. That's kind of my.
Got family in Florida.
That's my excuse. I mean, hi mom, hi dad. See you Saturday morning, and then I'll go down to Palm Beach, and then I'll come back and hang more for a few days. I have to be the good son sometime.
You had me at open bar. All right. I have to look into this. Let's jump into the comments. We'll start with a super chat here from the homie Brian, who says, here for the vibes. Love this DNVR crew. Also, please draft Connor Hayward. Is that the fullback for Michigan State?
I believe so. Yes.
Encyclopedia Mace.
Yeah. Tight end.
Oh, okay.
Tight end and fullback.
Tight
yes.
end / fullback.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was playing fullback at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he was.
He's a big boy.
Yes.
And super athletic. So I'm in on that. I with all due respect to the guy, because I've met him, he's really nice. I'm not on the Andrew Beck train at all. If you're going to use fullback, use a fullback. in my opinion.
Yeah, and they disagree with your opinion.
I know, it's weird.
I think though the one thing, and Hayward has that threat too, but the threat of being able to catch a pass, I think actually and do something actually does matter here.
For sure. I also
Yeah.
want the threat of being able to knock your helmet off when you try to come in the hole.
Isn't Andy Janovich still available?
He is, but he's also always hurt.
But you also just signed Tomlinson at tight end for kind of that purpose.
Yeah.
That guy. Now that by the way, it was funny to meet Tomlinson and Tom Compton
Yeah.
on the same day. Compton is a tackle who's been a guard, and Tomlinson's a tight end. Tomlinson is a large individual for a tight end.
Yeah,
He's
6'6".
massive.
Yes.
265.
Like, didn't you get the feeling that Tomlinson felt
He's like
more like
20
an
pounds away
O-lineman,
from
he
being-
did.
and Compton felt more
He
like a
did.
tight end?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they've actually, in his career, he's lined up all over the place.
Yeah.
He's lined up at tight end. He's lined up as a sixth offensive lineman. He's actually lined up as an offensive lineman, as a tackle before. And then he's also lined up in the backfield as a lead blocker. That is someone you want when you're on the one just trying to punch it in.
Do you guys remember Dwayne Carswell?
Of course.
Nicknamed House.
House, yeah.
Tomlinson gives me those vibes.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
And they actually, House got to be such a big house that they converted him to tackle.
Right. Right. Yeah, maybe we call Tomlinson apartment.
Right,
It's a little bit smaller.
Townhouse.
Townhouse.
I
love it.
Condo.
Condo.
That's actually a pretty good nickname.
Yeah, it really is.
Condo. It seems like it would be a nickname for someone named like Connor Dorson.
Right, yeah.
Anyways, I want more fullback, more, I would be in for Jano if he wasn't always hurting himself.
Yeah, I do like the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think we're going to see that.
Yeah, just Andrew Beck seems small out there to me.
Definitely compared to Tomlinson, he is.
I'm going to be pushing for as many Tomlinson snaps there. He's got a good
Yeah.
beard too, doesn't he?
Oh,
Yeah, he does.
incredible
Epic.
fit. I mean, he lets it loose too.
Yep,
Yeah,
I like
he's-
that about him.
If you could, like, somebody who just looks like a blocking fullback, blocking tight end, like Tomlinson, just like he looks like he could kick your ass
He's
6 ways to Sunday.
40 pounds away, which shouldn't be hard for a guy of his stature from being a tackle.
Honestly, I think the 260 is a little bit on the light side.
You think he's already up?
I think he look like 260. I think is maybe that was the original measurement, right?
Yeah.
They tend to not change those things over time.
Yep.
I think Tomlinson looks like he's about 280, 290.
I feel like it's undersold that like the Ravens just have these monsters on offense. Like
They do.
Ricard, the fullback, is his specs are insane.
They developed Juszczyk, remember?
Yep.
At fullback.
Yep.
Yep.
But I just mean in terms of size, like
Yeah.
they were just putting out monsters.
Yeah, and it works.
Yep.
Smart. You just grind the other team down.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's jump into the comments from the listeners.
Wait, one more super chat.
Oh,
Okay.
one more super chat.
Two more super chats.
Okay, super chats are
Okay.
rolling.
Oh, wow.
Luis Haro. Wow, I need to get some glasses. Don't like the disrespect we're getting. Broncos finishing 4th. No way. Go Broncos. Well, I think Alex Singleton said it best when he said they're one of the best teams in the AFC West.
And Luis, you don't
Yeah.
have to worry. I mean, the Chiefs weren't even in the top 5. You said
Top
right?
5 in the AFC.
Were the Broncos in there?
Yes, number 5.
Yeah, there you go. So
Where were the
Luis-
Chargers?
I think they had them like 1 or 2. Which
And
is
were the
just
Raiders in the top 5 or
disgusting.
no?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think any list when you're talking top 5 teams in the AFC has to have at least 3 AFC teams.
Bills,
AFC West
Chargers,
teams.
Bengals, Broncos, someone else. I forget.
Not the
Bengals,
Titans.
Broncos. Man,
Yeah.
the Titans could be dropping hard this year.
Yeah.
Eh, But of course, I don't discount
It-
Derrick
it-
Henry.
as
I think
you-
he could do anything.
As you can imagine, it triggered Chiefs Twitter an insane amount.
and I'm sure it triggered you a bit too, seeing the Chargers up there.
No, it actually didn't. I was enjoying Chiefs Twitter losing their mind too much. They were like, if you combine all of the playoff wins of all these teams over the last 3 years, it still wouldn't add up to as many as the Chiefs have.
And then huge super chat.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Holy cow.
Hi, just happened to catch you guys live today. Can't wait for the season from Pobby.
Yes, well, we really
Oh,
appreciate you
yeah.
rolling with us and really appreciate that generosity. We're so happy that you roll with us.
Man, you guys just keep getting me more excited for the season whenever someone says this, because like everyone just keeps painting this picture, and I'm like, I'm already too excited for summer. I can't be excited for fall this soon.
Right. Yeah, you don't want cold weather before the cold weather of the winter is
Right,
over.
exactly. All right. Now we're going to jump into the comments from the listeners on the website. You can leave them, of course, over at thednvr.com when you become a member. You also get a free shirt when you become a member, which why wouldn't you do that?
We got a Russ shirt out there, too.
We do. Oh, my God. No more. Just kidding. We appreciate it very much from Mile High Mike. Albright says Peyton is still looking for a corner. Do you think Stephon Gilmore is on his radar? Should we want him? Should we pay him? Callahan priority. I thought Albright was saying they're looking for 2 walls. I don't know if you saw his cryptic tweet.
No, I did not. No, what was it?
He was like, if you're wondering what the Broncos are clearing this cap space for, and then it was like a picture of 2 walls meeting like this. So everyone's like, oh, corner.
Corner. Yeah.
Oh, I did
Yes.
see that. I had no idea what that meant.
As 2 walls. Just looking for 2 walls.
Yeah, and it was white walls too. So I was like blank spaces. I don't know.
Yeah. It was.
That was over my head, cryptic, Albright. So impressive.
Anyways, what was the question again?
Are they looking at Stephon Gilmore?
Doubt it.
I think it's Bryce Callahan and potentially Chris Harris Jr. later down the stretch. The Broncos don't really need. I mean, yeah, they could use Stephon Gilmore, but what they need is that slot guy. Remember, Ronald Darby, I don't believe has ever played in the slot before. He's a true outside guy. If you wanted to, you could force him inside, but I don't know why you would do that right now. So I would just go get a true slot guy.
The other thing that's interesting is we are now reaching the point where you may see some second wave guys, but there could be some guys like a Stephon Gilmore that say, and even Chris Harris Jr. say, I'm just going to wait until the summer.
100%.
Not go through OTAs, and then just wait for a team that has an injury and gets desperate. Think of like Evan Mathis, just sitting and waiting, and he lands with Denver in August. He ends up getting a ring that season. Yep. I think we're going to see some of that from these bigger names that are on the market. If you wonder, well, why are they out there? I think they'll just wait for the right combination of spot opening up plus team in contention.
Shout out to I'm not saying their name actually. I can't legally say that out loud. But the commenter here leaving a very
Go Rams.
say from a very important comment here. I don't like the Broncos and go Rams Super Bowl champs. How did you end up here?
Well, welcome to the Broncos party.
Maybe they like all things Cronky.
It tells me we're doing something right with the SEO if we're ending up on your YouTube feed.
Yes, exactly. And people are now calling them out, but we enjoy anyone jumping in.
Come join us. We don't really care about those Rams.
Onion Booty chiming in on the comment section on the website says, "My boys." Mace, can we get a 75?
75.
My boys. Another one.
75.
He said, it's been too long since I've commented, but while my voice has been quiet, my viewership has been dogged. You may look at me and think that I'm just a young booty, but I'm not just a young booty. Russ is what I'm looking for, a sexy, independent quarterback, down to spin it type that wins Super Bowls, bowls. And Peyton, we entrust our faith. When are the Mr. Unlimited shirts dropping in the DNVR locker? Love, Onion Booty, Bronco.
Got to be honest. That's top 2 least favorite things Russ has ever done for me.
That's in terms of cringeworthy.
Yeah,
Is
like
another one a video.
The post contract video is the cringiest thing I've maybe ever seen on social media.
Although you pumped it out there last week, didn't you?
I parodied it.
Oh, you pumping it out. Okay, fine line there.
Yes. And it didn't get nearly as much love as I thought it should.
Oh, I actually didn't watch the whole thing. I'm sorry.
I dubbed over like super obvious robot voice to change all of the Seahawks stuff to Broncos.
Oh, well, I apologize. Then that's good.
Yeah, thank you. That and Mr. Unlimited, I couldn't, like, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt by being like, oh, the Mr. Unlimited thing, he knew that was really corny, and he was like leaning into the corniness. Mm-hmm. But I gotta get to know him better to know if he knows that.
I think he's dropped it, hasn't he? Or is he
still
still buying
he didn't have a trademark on that, but he got the trademark on Let Russ Cook.
I wonder if he has Let's Ride yet.
Stay away from that one, Russ.
Yeah. I mean, Let Russ Cook, certainly it has a lot more potential, right? I mean, Let
Russ Cook is great.
Let Russ Cook could be the entree to a whole line of cooking products.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you get a deal with Sur La Table or something, and all of a sudden you got all this distribution there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pairs up with someone in Denver. I like it.
You could probably just change it to Let Us Cook. you know, and you like
Right,
put the
right,
RU like around.
Yes.
Right. Yep, exactly. We have 2 quick super chats coming in. One from Mile High Mike says, "Just trolling with this one. Love y'all. We love you
Appreciate
right
it.
back."
We got the whole Madden League in here today.
We do.
Yeah.
Rams fans just salty because Rams coverage sucks in LA.
That's
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
true. Yep.
Although I know some good people over there.
That's actually true. Yeah, I think the
Obviously Sam Farmer does a great job.
Yep.
Jordan
Yeah.
Rodriguez does a great job.
Yep, I think the coverage is good. Just the fan base is not there.
Although they kind of move
Covering
Sam
them for no one.
Yeah, but and they
Yes.
kind of move Sam around, right? I mean, sometimes like he's covering
was
like whoever's
here.
got the whatever the bigger thing is. So like if the Chargers have a bigger game, he'll be at the Charger game
Yeah.
rather than the Rams game.
I think he's earned that
Yeah.
that freedom
Yeah,
to just go do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
most definitely.
Like they send him to the Masters because I'm sure he just wants to go to the
Yeah,
Masters.
Yeah,
I mean,
why would you not?
He was an NFL beat guy without a team for what, like 15, 20 years?
He always asked Goodell at the
Yes.
Super Bowl press conference when they were
Every
getting
year.
a team in LA.
Every
That's
year.
very impressive.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on here to
Mitch, he
Mitch.
says, "Don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled about Russ, but knowing what we know now about the price for Russ, multiple high picks and good players, and Matt Ryan, a single third-round pick, which package do you prefer? Do you think the significantly smaller deal for Ryan would have been a better path for the Broncos to take?"
You get what you pay for. Get what you pay for.
Yeah, just a big fat no right there. I see where you're trying to think about this logically, but when it comes to quarterbacks, you take the better quarterback and you don't care what it takes to give up. The Broncos have gone down this value route the past 6 years. If you want to look at how that turns out, value is not the approach you take to quarterbacks.
Yeah, and the Colts might win 10 games this year with Matt Ryan.
By
What
the
does
way-
that do for them?
And Matt Ryan's cap figure this year is higher for the Colts
Oh my god.
than Russell Wilson's is.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
my
I mean, there's a reason he was on the cheap. He's on the very back end of his career. You know, you could make a case that sometimes you'd be willing to take a less great quarterback for more longevity. I think the Aaron Rodgers versus
Yep.
Russell Wilson conversation
Yep.
comes to mind there. But you definitely wouldn't take a less good quarterback with less time in any circumstances.
And also, I think that trade for the Colts in the circumstances they were in, I think it was a good trade for both teams.
What is it? All it does is prolong their rebuild, though. Like,
Yeah,
But
but
the Colts, they're
Yeah.
but they're not close to rebuilding.
I know
That's
that's
a
their
good-
problem.
that's
right,
a
yeah,
good-
absolutely. That's why I
It's a
think
good roster.
And I don't like Matt Ryan. I think he's overrated and has been for a long time. Saying that, I think it's a good move for them. Is it a Super Bowl move? No, I don't think so. But I think it keeps them in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're going to win 10 to 12
Yeah,
games,
yeah.
and then he might retire next year, and then you're just like right back where you were. It's like eventually you got to go try and start new.
What they're counting on is Atlanta's offensive line has been pretty pathetic in recent years, and they're counting on the fact that, all right, now you're gonna put some studs in front of him, and he's gonna have a stud right behind him to hand the ball off to.
Yep.
And I can, for them, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, other than the quarterback, if you said, okay, Bronco roster or Colt roster, you're taking the Colt roster overall.
Ooh,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good roster. I
interesting.
mean,
You have 6. I mean, let's just talk about
Yeah.
Pro Bowlers. I mean,
Right, that's
you have
fair.
6 Pro Bowlers. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got Darius Leonard, who, with all respect to everyone, to the Broncos defense, Darius Leonard is a better player at a premium position the Broncos have on defense.
he's
You've
not
got-
really a premium position, but it impacts the defense a lot.
but they use him the way they use him as a pass rusher from time to time as well. They use him in a premium way, and he plays every down. You've got I think a likely Hall of Famer on the offensive line in Quentin Nelson. You have I think right now, with all respect to Derrick Henry, at this moment RB1 in the NFL is Jonathan Taylor.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa. More than Derrick Henry, Mace. You're doing my guy like that. You know I
At
have to
this
disagree
moment,
with
at this moment,
Either way, you still would take the Broncos because the quarterback is an option,
Right.
And you want the better quarterback.
but it just tells you how I think. Again, it's a good roster that they've built in
yeah,
Indianapolis.
it's why they're doing this with the
Right,
quarterbacks.
and
the
it makes
rentals.
sense for them, and with Matt Ryan, I think he's enough to where you can talk yourself into saying, "All right, this Ryan he's been to a Super Bowl before, he's been a league MVP before, that we get him with Frank Reich, that maybe we can, especially being in a weaker division in the AFC West and the AFC North, we can maybe even win 12 or 13. And yeah, we might get the Chiefs with Mahomes and the Broncos with Russ or the Chargers with Herbert. We might get them in our place.
I have to say, this is giving me so many flashbacks to Joe Flacco coming to Denver and John Elway selling him. Now, I do think, Mace, I think your argument's a lot stronger than what the Broncos had then, but boy, am I happy to not be in that conversation of having to convince myself of a guy being who he was 5 years ago.
But would it surprise anybody if on the third weekend in January, wild card round, it's the second place Broncos at the first place Colts?
No.
Not at all.
They're really good. They're going to be really strong. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play good defense. They're going to do it kind of the other way than what most NFL teams are doing right now. And it will work, especially because everyone's getting smaller and smaller at linebacker and stuff. If you can really commit to smashing the ball down people's faces, it's going to be successful. Mm-hmm. Just how long can it be successful? Will it work? To the point where you can win a Super Bowl? I kind of doubt it. You're going to have to count on your quarterback to go make plays.
I think their plan is probably also they have their first-round pick next year. They may have to make another trade to kind of bolster that capital, but they may be thinking, Matt Ryan, 2 years, we get our QB of the future. Next year, whoever QB3 or QB4 is, we put ourselves in position to get that. But if you have that Bronco-Colt game, if they play in Indy in January, I think it's a coin flip game.
You said something there that just triggered something that I've been thinking about the last day. I don't want to open up this discussion because I think it's probably a whole thing, but I just have to get it off my chest. I absolutely hate it because you talked about how they use Darius Leonard as a pass rusher. I absolutely hated
this is a conversation for tomorrow for sure.
The little tidbit about Baron Browning moving to outside linebacker. I hate it.
There's a lot there, and let's just say I agree with you.
Yeah. We'll talk
very
more about that.
I'm not happy about that. But you know what? Because usually we get George Payton off to the side, and we get Nathaniel Hackett. Get to ask him about that next week.
Love it. Melbourne Broncos says, my boys, so when does Russ and the receiving squad get together to get to know each other? Are the dates for OTAs and training camp locked in yet, or am I just too excited? Cheers. Well, OTAs can begin for teams with new head coaches on April 4th. That's 2 weeks from yesterday. They can. We'll see what the Broncos do. We'll see. Last year, the Broncos players were very against doing any OTAs, or I should say off the field workouts until OTAs started, which was in May. We'll see if with the new coaching staff, if a new quarterback, if that changes, wouldn't be surprised if it did change and Justin Simmons and all the guys are there. But also, if Nathaniel Hackett wants, he can start it a week or two after. What we do know is Russ has said he is getting the guys together before the team gets together. So if they do get together on April 4th, we're talking in the next 10 days they're all getting together.
Yeah, the other thing also on training camp can start no earlier, I believe, than July 28th.
Okay.
Unless they play the Thursday night game.
That is the Thursday night game.
Oh,
okay. For the Thursday. I mean, I'm talking about you're talking about week 1 Thursday night.
Right.
I was talking about relative to the preseason opener. So it could be like 3 days earlier if they play on Thursday night football.
Right.
I doubt they're going to get that Thursday night game in week 1. So probably you're looking at about July 28th.
You don't think Broncos at Rams Thursday night football?
I think sounds like they may like Bills at Rams better.
I mean, no complaints from me. I'll watch the hell out of that game. Next one here from Dan Burke. Hey, guys. So Falcons have to be pretty concerned about the return that Terry Fontenot got for Matt Ryan, essentially a late third. To think George Payton got an early fifth in the same draft for Trinity Benson. I know the circumstances might have been different in Denver if Fontenot got the job, but I'm pretty confident in saying the Broncos hired the right guy.
Yeah, and what plays into this is contract. I mean, Mace said it. The Colts are having to pay Matt Ryan more than the Broncos are paying Russell Wilson. He has a massive contract that they have to bring on, so that played into it. Trinity Benson didn't have a contract. Overall, though, I totally see your point, Dan, but I don't view that as necessarily a black eye for Terry.
Falcons had a gun to their head, and part of the reason they had a gun to their head was because of the restructure they made last year on Matt Ryan's deal, but they had that $7.5 million roster bonus that was due on Monday, and it does not appear that they had multiple suitors in play for Matt Ryan, so they were basically stuck with a decision that I think long term is going to be the right decision, but was painful. But they're going to take a dead money hit, the likes of which no team has ever seen from one player before.
By the way,
I think it's good that they're doing it because this should be a clear the decks year, and if you're going to suck, a Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud year is a good year to suck.
And really quick, that's why I think Marcus Mariota was a terrible signing for them, because I think he makes them better, which is what they don't need. And also, did you guys see the report from Adam? I think it was Adam Schefter yesterday or the day before, saying that a team that talked to the Browns about trading for Baker Mayfield said, oh, no. We're not going to give you anything. You have to give us Baker and a pick in order to take him off your team.
Brock Osweiler deal.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's where the Browns are right now with Baker. That's how bad it is.
There's karma on that one.
Yeah, what are they? They can't hold on to him. So he's gonna get cut.
And so they know they have no choice. And I don't know if it helps it in terms of their cap situation to cut him or trade him. We'll see. But they may be trading Baker in like a fourth and getting back a seventh or something.
Well, how many suitors do they have right now? Because there was a report today that Carolina's out on Baker Mayfield. And
Why?
well,
Insane.
a few years ago, someone put this on social media that Ben McAdoo in 2018, and this was, I believe, right after he had gotten fired by the Giants, that he had a list of the quarterbacks in the 18 draft, and he had Baker Mayfield like 5th or 6th. That Ben McAdoo is not a fan of Baker Mayfield. Now McAdoo is the OC in Carolina, so
That's who I trust for my quarterback takes.
Now, for what it's worth, Carolina had all of their top brass, except David Tepper, the owner, at Malik Willis's workout today in Lynchburg,
And
Virginia.
Kenny Pickett yesterday, right?
Yes. So you can kind of see what the direction that they're going. I mean, they even have like their Patrick Smythe, Stephen Drummond, has been at these. So that tells you kind of the level of probably conversations that they're having with these quarterbacks. They're trying to evaluate, what they are as kind of face of the franchise,
All right.
potentially out there. But so if Carolina's out of that, what is Baker Mayfield's market at this point?
Seattle?
New Orleans just signed Jameis Winston.
Baker and
Houston's
Trevor
committed to
Fence.
Davis Mills for this year. I mean, it's Seattle, and I don't see where else.
This is wild to me.
Like
Baker
Detroit's
Mayfield
going to
is
ride Jared
good at
Goff.
football.
Yeah.
Every other year.
Yeah, I mean he was hurt last year.
Okay, I'm just saying, every other year, he's good at football.
This is wild.
which
There
mean-
are teams out there with some garbage quarterbacks that should want Baker Mayfield.
I mean, Seattle with Baker Mayfield in what is left of the NFC at this point, Seattle and with Baker Mayfield would be in. Not saying they'll get a spot, but they would be in the wild card conversation.
the Colts should
Believe it or not.
absolutely have wanted Baker Mayfield over Matt Ryan.
Oh, boy. For this year, no, Baker's
about
too
this
much
year,
of a
though.
wild card.
It's not only about this year.
But if it's
That's
every
fair.
other year, then he would have had a great year this year.
Yep.
I mean, he's handing off to Jonathan Taylor, and he's protected
Yeah,
by that
yeah,
offensive
yeah,
line.
yeah.
Like, I know he had those things. He had some of that stuff in Cleveland. He was really good 2 years ago.
And the Colts were never in on him. It was always Matt Ryan, which is nuts. But yeah, I'd like to see a Drew and Baker competition, if it would even be a competition.
By the way, did you see
we'll
Mitchell
find out.
Trubisky's guarantee? It was like it.
They should have wanted Baker Mayfield
Well, that's
over
it.
Mitchell
But
Trubisky.
is Cleveland going to trade him in the division? That's the thing.
They should have if they don't want
They're
him.
gonna
Then
cut
they
it. They're
should.
gonna cut him in the division.
Long term Baker Mayfield in Pittsburgh is something I would be here for
All right, we're
because
running.
that would be
Yes.
wild.
Oh, yes.
We're running super long here, so let's try to
Yeah.
knock out a couple questions from Vency. Hey guys, on 2 occasions we have discussed possibly switching Bulls over to right tackle. Every time I hear that switching tackle spots, I can't help but recall something I heard some time ago. I don't remember which podcast I heard it, but it's stuck in my head. According to a tackle, switching spots is like learning to wipe your butt with your other hand. Now I don't know about you, but that in my book is no small feat. So it may not be a good idea to switch tackles, or things could get messy. Now, every time Zach brings up switching tackle box, you guys can think about this. You're welcome. Keep up the great work and let's ride.
That was Tristan Wirfs, by the way,
Thanks,
who had
Betsy.
that phenomenal quote.
To be honest, I feel like I could do that in a week.
Yeah, it may be messy in the process, but once you've mastered it, I think you'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a challenge.
Challenge.
All three of us, we report at the start of the pod every day.
I'll do it if Bowles has to do it.
Move on from this.
Bulls, I see what you did there. B-Ham Broncos says, hey, Kings, thanks for the great coverage throughout this wild offseason. I've spent the last few days thinking about something you guys have spent some time talking about over the last few years. margin for error. To me, this is an area that Russell Wilson makes a huge difference in. It used to be that if the Broncos didn't have the very best option at every position, I would automatically write off as a reason we would lose at some point. That is no longer the case. With the quarterback able to elevate the team, like RK has talked about, the margin for error has expanded tenfold. This doesn't mean we don't need great players, especially with being in the AFC best, but it just feels like the entire dynamic of this team has changed, and I'm not sure it will be fully felt until we see Russ pull a win out of what feels like a sure loss. George Paton has done an incredible job building this team in less than 2 full years, and I think we have a lot to look forward to. Cheers.
Yeah, this is going to be noticed big time. Big time. When the Broncos play a bad game and Russ scores 14 points in the last 6 minutes to win them a game, and it's like, oh my God, they had no business winning that, and they have won literally one game that I can think of in the last 5 years that they shouldn't have won, and it was the Drew Lock comeback against the Chargers. Pretty much every other game that they, were down big late, it was just over.
Yep, and as Julian says in our comments, as a Russ fan, as a Seahawks fan, you always had a chance with Russ, and you know who it reminds me of? It reminds me of John.
Of course.
It doesn't matter if it's within 3 scores entering the 4th, and you got the ball, you got a chance.
You have a chance.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Commish Gordon 710 says, hey guys, yesterday you briefly mentioned Russell Wilson's impending extension and how there was no way he would take any kind of discount, which is understandable. I took a quick look at the percentages of cap that quarterbacks have made. The highest percentage of a Super Bowl winning quarterback was Tom Brady in the 2020 season, about 12.7% of the cap. That means your chances of winning the Super Bowl plummet if you pay your quarterback more than about 1/8 of the cap. Now, I'm willing to bet that might change sometime soon, but you think teams are getting into a bit of a danger zone when they think about paying a quarterback more than $30 million per year. How do you reconcile holding on to a star at the premium position versus making the rest of the team, making sure the rest of the team is taken care of?
We talked about this a lot already, but you don't reconcile anything. You just pay the quarterback and you try to figure out how you're going to win otherwise.
And that's why there's so much hope with what George Paton has done so far is he's drafted well, and if you're going to pay a quarterback a ton of money, you have to draft well to be able to get those players around him for cheap.
That's true. That's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about that the Seahawks did not do during the Russell Wilson era. I mean, try to think of some of the best draft picks they've had. DK obviously was a really good one.
Yep.
But you look around.
A lot of duds.
A lot of duds. I mean, a lot of bad picks at high, at important positions, they just flopped.
And then burning multiple first-round picks to trade for a safety.
Yeah.
Jamal Adams
safety
Jamal Adams is a very good safety, but that only had value. His skill set, like you said, box safety, that had value 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Not today.
There are really good box safeties that just aren't even making teams anymore just because there's not that much you can do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's really good. He makes a lot of impact. 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson.
The thing is, I love Justin Simmons as a person, as a player. If a team were to offer 2 first-round picks for him, done deal.
He's not a box safety,
right? He's do-it-all.
He's the guy that is tailored for today's game because he's got a lot of range.
And you would take 2 firsts for him in a heartbeat.
Yep, absolutely. And last one, I think, coming in from Bronco Oilers says, "Hey guys, with all the excitement around the team since acquiring Wilson, I can't wait to see the rockin' atmosphere we will know and love back in Mile High. If you guys could each pick a new player intro song and touchdown song for the new season, what would you pick?" I'll start. For players' intros, I'll go with Trophies by Drake, and for touchdowns, an edited version of Fergalicious that says Tug-alicious instead.
I talked about my 2 least favorite things that Russ has done earlier. My least favorite thing that Hackett has done is Tug-alicious.
And the Broncos are buying into it, so get ready for more of that.
Make it stop. We're better than this. We can do better. I don't know. I just miss Rock and Roll Part 2. I know the problems. And
that was canceled before canceled was a thing.
Right. He's terrible, terrible stuff. That is the song that I associate with Broncos touchdowns. That will never go away from my brain.
Yeah, I understand that. They used to play "Bring 'Em Out" when the Broncos were coming out. I love that by T.I. I'm also a T.I. fan.
The thing is, for a touchdown, there needs to be something that the fans can go along with.
Exactly.
And that was the whole thing with Rock and Roll Part 2 is it had the hey. I mean, you need something that there's a call where maybe not a call and response, but just something that people can kind of join in with. And that's I mean, that's really tough at this point.
Yeah. it
Also
is.
love Thunderstruck by AC/DC. I think that's a great one to get people fired up.
That's almost like a pregame
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Coming out
That's
of the
an
tunnel.
intro song.
Yeah.
AC/DC has a lot of good intro songs.
Yeah.
For those about to rock, like
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love it. Like if
Damn,
you,
that'd be
if
sick
they
with the cannons.
yeah, like and you just hear that guitar riff,
Yeah.
and and have the Broncos kind of walking. They show them in the coming from the locker room to the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
love
don't
it.
think the players are getting
I
excited
know,
over for
The-
those about to
but
rock.
it is about the fans though.
Well,
How
yeah.
about after a touchdown you play "We Are the Champions"?
Nope.
After every touchdown.
No.
That's a terrible idea.
No, you want more touchdowns. You play Queen, but you play Don't Stop Me Now.
There we go.
Yeah.
Or you play the entire Bohemian Rhapsody after every touchdown.
They just have to wait. The king's like,
Oh, so if you want a college football
that's
length
something
game,
people can
there
sing
you
along
go.
with.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Nothing really matters to me.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody sounds like what you're singing when you've gone through the last 6 years.
That feels like a missed
that's true.
opportunity that like a college team hasn't adopted that. Like, Wisconsin has Jump Around. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Whoever does the Neil Diamond. Some people do that one. Like, how has no one done Bohemian Rhapsody at the end of the third quarter?
Right. Yeah.
Everyone gets into it and
Yeah.
just goes crazy.
You'd have basically everyone puts their arms around each other,
Yes.
sways back
Yep.
and
Yeah.
forth.
Maybe I'll pass that along to my people at SCU. All right, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Great show. Appreciate all of the comments and the super chats. Appreciate everyone who hit us with a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star review. All of that stuff. We love you guys, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.